Welcome to Cayman Cops. This is a video series I'll be doing where I'll be riding along with police officers, showing you guys what it's like to be a police officer. We're starting off with Sergeant McHale with the Radnor Township Police Department, where he'll be giving you guys an insight into what it's like to be a police officer in Radnor, how they position their officers, and the types of calls that they go to and things like that. We have a couple more episodes coming soon, including K9, a couple night patrol, and much more to show you guys. So stick around to the end to see the sneak peeks of those, and I hope you guys enjoy. The boy.
Was it like shooting flames or anything?
Hi there, my name is Sergeant Brady McHale with the Radnor Township Police Department. I've been fortunate enough to work here in Radnor for 10 years now and had the good fortune of being promoted to sergeant 2 years ago within the patrol division. So I work in 2-week rotations. We do 2 weeks of days followed by 2 weeks of nights. Here in Radnor, we have 50 sworn officers. We're supplemented by part-time staff as well as civilian staff who are the true heroes, the true ones that make us go. And between that, each of our divisions is overseen by a sergeant who maintains the consistency as well as the standards and all of our what's expected out of our officers. That's kind of falls on the sergeant's job, and then the sergeants answer to lieutenants, and the lieutenants oversee the day-to-day operations from 2 different facets. We have one lieutenant who oversees the patrol division as well as the community service unit and our civilian staff, and then we have the special operations unit, which oversees our inside folks like our secretaries and records room, as well as our detective division, the traffic safety and highway patrol unit, as well as parking and auxiliary services. So they then answer to the big man upstairs, Superintendent Chris Flanagan, who's kind of like the CEO of the company, and he makes sure that everything is operating fluidly and works on more of the business side of law enforcement. What ordinances need to be drafted and hopefully passed by our governing body, the Board of Commissioners, also maintains our budget and ensures that our equipment is working at the state-of-the-art as it should here as well. So in Radnor Township, we are just about 14 miles. We break the township into 4 quadrants, into what are called our beats or our districts for our officers. And that is the assignment for the officer. Sometimes throughout the year, sometimes sergeants do it 6 months at a time, just so you have a variety of calls. For example, if you're working in Newtown Square, you're not going to have a connection with our business district as you would if you were working in our Wayne section, where it's thriving much more with businesses. But the type of calls you're going to get in Newtown section of the township down near Bryn Mawr Avenue and Sproul Road and Adrozen Farm are going to be different than the calls that you would get on a more busy beat like our Area 24, which is our Bryn Mawr area, where there's people everywhere all the time. There's dining establishments and liquor establishments. So like I said, a variety of calls. So each beat, 1, 2, 3, and 4, all have their differences. Some have their perks too. And then as you progress as an officer, there's so many opportunities for advancement within the department. I know folks are going to meet our K9 officers who work with one of their K9 partners that will have a specific training, whether it's explosives or narcotics. We have 3 explosive dogs and 1 narcotics dog. All 4 are able to do what's called tracking, and that would be finding a suspect of a crime, finding someone who has wandered off perhaps because they have dementia or some other proclivity or a cognitive disability that hinders their understanding of reality. And we utilize our canines for that purpose, and that's a specialized training that those officers go through. In addition to our canine unit, we also have a community support unit, They are supplemented and assisted by our social worker within the police department, who's Isabel Cook, and they work a lot with our mental health population, those who are mental health consumers, as well as those who are unhoused. In addition to CSU, the detective division, they do exactly what you would expect them to do. They detect, they are our investigators. So a police patrol officer might come out and take an initial report, and then they will go and get all the initial information, turn that over to a detective who has access to some more technology. They have information sharing and intelligence sharing amongst other police departments. So a crime that occurs here in Radnor might have the same MO or even the same suspect if we were able to access video or maybe like a license plate, and they will then liaison with the other department. Hey, what information do you have? Do you want to share that information with us? And the answer all the time is yes. And then hopefully it leads to an arrest. And so where we're at now is kind of like the epicenter of Radnor, North Wayne and Lancaster Avenue. So it's also where the township changes a little bit. So everything to what would have been our right coming northbound on North Wayne Avenue is going to be Area 1, which is the 7621 I was talking about, and then the left-hand side, when it turns into West Lancaster Avenue, that would be Area 2, and it's cut down the middle on both sides. This is one of our many shopping centers. This is St. David's Shopping Center, TJ Maxx. This is a hot spot for activity. We have a lot of folks who choose to steal from there, and we don't know why, because they have great loss prevention. They have people who are constantly keeping an eye on things there, but we do find ourselves returning for retail thefts quite a bit. They have brands that maybe the TJ Maxx elsewhere does not have. So we'll get folks who come here from all over just to shop there because of the item that they want. There's also a micro center, which we also frequent because there's not that many micro centers along the East Coast. I think the next closest one to here is in Maryland. So we do get a lot of folks that come from Delaware and New York, and they're these syndicates. They're, for a lack of a better word, they're gangs. And the SD cards, probably like what's in that computer, in that camera now, they're a hot commodity, and you can only purchase certain ones at certain locations. So they get stolen from there all the time, but one SD card could be worth like $200-300. So you're almost immediately, if someone steals a few of those, you're almost immediately looking at, a felony. And there's a lot of people who, for as small as the item is, they find themselves in pretty hot water because their decision making. And there are different philosophies too. I don't want you to kind of get the wrong picture. There are people who are so simply desperate that they turn to committing crimes as a means to really stay alive. The family who's stealing baby formula because they can't afford it otherwise, but they have to feed their child. So, you do run into these calls where it's like, well, what's the humane, like what's the personal thing to do here? And that goes back to like our training and our experience. A lot of our resources that we have through the CSU unit where we can help someone, diversionary programs. Our county is very, very prideful on their restorative justice programs. So just because someone commits a crime doesn't necessarily make them a criminal. While it might be a criminal act, there are ways for them to better themselves and come out on top in the long run. Even if they go through the criminal justice system, there's nothing to say that they can't rehabilitate themselves. Rosemont, Garrett Hill, some people call it Beaupre if you grew up in the neighborhood that we just passed back there next to Clem-McCrone. Super, super close-knit. Everybody knows everybody. That helps us out a lot, especially when we're investigating things or trying to mitigate like neighbor disputes. Sometimes you'll find the neighborhood block captain or the matriarch of the area who's been here forever, that everybody kind of listens to and takes on their wisdom. And we'll take them and bring them into the conversation and be like, hey, how can we help, resolve this issue that these neighbors are having? Whatever the case is. It could be over parking, it could be over trash. We have a lot of our students that go to Villanova University or Eastern University that live down in this section. So it's interesting when you're a patrol officer and you have this big, long 12-hour shift, you get used to driving around, you get used to stopping at certain businesses. One thing that I always found funny, I was inside and I worked in the traffic unit. So traffic has what are called selectives. It's areas where we get our most traffic complaints. A lot of them are side streets, obviously Lancaster Avenue, there's a speeding issue, but it's also areas that are prone to accidents. And the traffic officers they're more selective to their areas of enforcement. And then I still remember, I was driving down like Matson Ford Road and King of Prussia over in that area, and I noticed that Penn Medicine had like completely been redone, and I was like, wow, like I haven't been on King of Prussia Road in X amount of months, and they did all this work that I completely missed out on. Whereas if I was a patrol guy and you're out on those roads every single day, you're seeing the changes, you're seeing the development, maybe new people that come in and out of town. So it sounds really weird, but at the end of the day, that is our job, to like be those trained observers and to know what's going on around town, what belongs where, when. So it's a good thing.
You made it to the end of the video. Make sure you hit subscribe and like, and turn on the notifications so you'll be notified when these next episodes come out. Should be some good ones, and I'll give you a little preview right now.